I drove to over murder this shit. Yeah.
Here it is, finally, the long-awaited MTM Chinese chainsaw all you need to know video. MTM 62SX, purchased pretty much almost a year ago. This is the 62cc version. As you can see, I haven't got the original bar on there anymore and chain. I've since upgraded to, well, originally it comes with a 22 inch bar with a 325 chain, which is alright. The bar seems to be good quality. The chain was so-so. I got, last year I cut 10 tons of firewood with that chain, and I sharpened it myself, and it worked really well. It was a little bit harder to sharp because I think the steel isn't, you know, as high quality as an Oregon chain. I mean, obviously, but it was still possible to get it sharp every single time, and it really did the job. Like, out of the box, that's all you need. I did kind of wear down the chain completely because we fell a few trees last winter, and we cut a lot of firewood, and I also did a fair bit of milling with the Alaskan chainsaw mill and this particular saw, so I have put it through its paces, to say the least, and that was the whole goal, or the aim, when I bought this chainsaw. When I bought this chainsaw, I was actually thinking about dropping $1,700 on a Husqvarna 562 XP, and I almost did, but I talked to my friend Tony, and we said, hey, why don't we try one of those $100 Chinese chainsaws of eBay? And we're not even going for the more expensive Chinese chainsaw. We are going for the cheapest, and we're going for the cheapest, and we're also going to put it through its paces. We are going to use it for everything. Felling trees, cutting firewood, milling, you name it. And we use it a lot until it either blows up, or we'll be pleasantly surprised that it holds up. And here it is, a year later, several trees, 10 tons of firewood, probably a few hours of milling, still going strong. So I'll run you through a few things you need to know to get the most out of it. And let's start with the air filter. So the air filter on these isn't super great, well, as you can see now. Here it is. So the air filter on these, they haven't got this, what they call flock, which is like almost like a natural fiber thing on top of the air filter. So this is just a plastic mesh. And initially we had problems with sawdust getting into the carburetor. And I tried a few different things, but nothing really worked to keep the sawdust out completely. You do have this rubber O-ring in here, and that's supposed to seal around the carby, but it didn't. And I actually worked out that the sawdust is traveling mostly through this hole all the way down, and then gets sucked into here. So two things I did. So the first thing is tiny rubber O-ring on here to seal around the bolt, and that pretty much solved the problem, I'd say 80 to 90%. out of the box. And the second thing I did, which I reckon you definitely need because you haven't got the flock on here, you only got the, it's only a plastic mesh, you get some air filter spray. It is like a semi-sticky spray that will catch pretty much all of the fine dust. With that little O-ring and the air filter spray, I haven't had any sawdust get into the carby ever since. So, you know, that is something I definitely recommend you do. The next thing I did was, it wasn't necessary, but I just wanted to do it anyway. I swapped the spark plug that comes with the chainsaw. It was like a no-name, you know, Chinese spark plug. I swapped it for an NGK. Wasn't necessary, but I just wanted to have a quality one in there. And the other thing is about the petrol. So they say you should run this saw at 25:1. So 25 parts of petrol, 1 part of two-stroke oil. I found that to be too rich, and I don't actually think it's necessary. I talked to my neighbour Michael. He's a very experienced. He's very experienced with chainsaws. He used to work like for, I think, almost 2 decades in a chainsaw shop. So he's pretty much seen it all. And he's got Husky chainsaws, and even though they say to run it at 50:1, he's been running his chainsaws at 100:1. And the reason why he thinks he can do that is because he uses probably the highest quality 2-stroke oil you can use. This is specifically for trials bikes, so it's a fully synthetic, super high performance 2-stroke oil. And instead of running this saw at 25:1, I'm running it at 40:1, and I find you get a little bit more power out of it, especially at the top end. I've checked the spark plug, looks exactly the way you want it to look like. I also checked the barrel and the piston, no marks whatsoever. So I recommend, you know, 25:1. You know, they're probably careful with their recommendations, but it's too rich. Go 40:1, but definitely use a high quality, fully synthetic 2-stroke oil. Don't use the cheap stuff and then, you know, you go 40:1, 50:1, and then, you know, be surprised when you blow up the engine. So yeah, with the chain and the bar, as I said before, once I wore out the original one, I upgraded to a 20-inch Oregon bar and chain, and it's 3/8 instead of 3/25. To sharpen the saw, I found, I mean, there's obviously heaps of gadgets around now, but to sharpen the saw, I find the best thing you can do are these are Husky chainsaw file guides. So what you do is you just sit it on the chain like this, and you run the file parallel to the file guide on these rollers, and that will give you a perfect result every single time. So that's super easy. Definitely highly recommend them. They're only $35 Australian. Definitely pick up one of those if you haven't got any file kits. Also, you definitely need to tune the carburetor to get the most out of this saw. I could make another video on how to do that, but I'm sure there's plenty of other videos out there that explain how to tune the carby, because out of the box it was running too rich, and it was like really limited, especially at the top end. And once I tuned the carburetor, I should say Michael tuned it for me initially. Once Michael tuned the carburetor, it really turned into a different saw. All of a sudden it was like, it went from being this super average Chinese piece of junk into like a pretty decent cutting beast. So definitely check that out. I'll put a link in the description. Yeah, bar oil, I just use regular 15W40 engine oil. I don't think you need anything else, but you can obviously use some high quality bar oil. The starter is one of those easy start ones, so you don't crank it. It kind of winds up and then turns the engine over as you pull slowly. It's a bit, kind of seems like a, like grandpa way of starting your saw. It works, but yeah, I would have preferred if they had put a normal starter on this, where you have to yank the cord to start it. This is like, I don't know, it feels weird, but it works, no dramas. Yeah, as for the fuel lines, with many of those chainsaws, the fuel lines can be really average, and they can break like 5 minutes into using it. And this saw is still running on its original fuel lines. They're a lot softer. I reckon they're better quality, obviously, because still going strong after 1 year of usage. Yeah, lastly, those log dogs, they're very small on this saw. Like, they're really, really small. I've been thinking about making you just get a piece of steel and you make your own a little bit bigger, because it's so short. The saw actually runs, and the exhaust runs really, really close to the log, which I've felt it on my hand, can generate a lot of heat, because the exhaust is like a centimeter away from the log, just blowing out hot air, and that can get really, really hot. Haven't had any issues with it, but yeah, they're definitely too small. All right, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, all in all, I can't speak highly enough of those saws. Like, really, it's obviously $109. Even if it just lasted you for one season of cutting firewood, it would almost still be worth it. But I can't actually see how this saw would break anytime soon. We've used it so much, and we haven't been easy on it. Really, we tried to be rough on it. Not stupid, but we used it as hard as we use any of our other saws. We've got plenty of Dolmas, quality German saws. We've got several Huskies, and which we almost didn't use last year, because all we did was use the Chinese beast here. Still going strong. If you haven't got a saw, if you need a backup saw, whatever, if you just want to have a play around, if you don't have the money to go for Husky or Steel or Dolma, get it. I can't fault it. A couple of things you need to take care of, like air filter, good quality 2-stroke oil. That's pretty much it, and you're ready to go. You'll love it. They got a nice sound to it too. Sounds pretty aggressive, and yeah, that's it. Okay, this is Australian red gum, hardwood. It's been dead for a few years, so it's pretty much as dry and as hard as it gets.